Hey everybody, so I'm on my way out to my mother-in-law's to do some work out on her yard. I'm driving through my neighborhood though. I have had a report from a neighbor that a neighbor on the opposing side of our block has had their Black Lives Matter sign ripped up and destroyed and left in the yard, so I'm kind of driving by to check it out. I doubt I'll film it because I'm driving, but okay, yeah, so indeed I do see it. Yeah, I'm gonna film it. This is ridiculous. Well, anyway, you can see it right there. It's on the ground. Somebody's destroyed it. It's probably the same person that's been throwing garbage in our yard. Pretty ridiculous. Okay, sorry. I was driving around a person walking, and that person actually happened to be black too, and he probably lives in the neighborhood, and he's probably wondering what the F. Sorry about that dramatic pause. Okay, so here's the skinny. Breonna Taylor has come out, the grand jury came out and did not indict any police officer with the killing of Breonna Taylor. There are peaceful protests, although there is some violence happening because that seems to be the only way to get anybody's attention, especially white people's attention, unless you're the Attorney General who happens to be black, but obviously is brainwashed by being a member of the justice system here in Kentucky. Why do I say that? Because the Attorney General stated that the only misgiving that the officers performed was shooting blindly. That was Officer Hankinson, who was already fired for that transgression. But they shot blindly into the apartment through a window or an eave or a wall. And the ballistics report shows that those bullets, of which entered other apartments that were adjacent to Breonna Taylor and her boyfriend's apartment, thereby entering those apartments and endangering the lives of the residents that lived in the adjacent apartments. Not even worrying about the lives of Breonna Taylor, who has been murdered, or her boyfriend, who miraculously survived this unscathed, other than having been arrested, incarcerated, brought upon charges of shooting or attempting to kill a police officer, which were later dropped because he was within his rights, as is the state of Kentucky law states, of firing on an unannounced intruder, which is what he did. Several witnesses within the apartment complex have stated that they never heard the police announce themselves, even though the police adamantly profess that they announced themselves as police outside the door, even though they were not in uniform other than their military fatigue style dress, and other than the fact that they had a no-knock warrant, which is now becoming illegal in the state of Kentucky because of this incident, but also doesn't require them to announce themselves as the police before they enter an establishment, which is completely asinine in the state of Kentucky. Because in the state of Kentucky, if my best friend walks through the door and I don't know who it is, well, shit, even if I do know who it is, and I don't like my best friend anymore, and he comes in my door and doesn't announce himself or knock or wait for permission to enter, I am within all legal rights to shoot him dead or kill him by any means necessary, because he's an intruder and trespassing on my property. That is Kentucky state law. Kentucky state law also As far as gun rights goes, you can own a weapon. You do not need a permit. You do not even need a concealed carry permit anymore. You can conceal your weapon without a permit. Just like a cop. You can walk around with weapons as big as your balls. And, okay, well, maybe in my case that wouldn't be too big. You can walk around with weapons as big as your leg. And you are within the Kentucky statute of gun rights. You can probably walk around with a bazooka. Hell, they walk around with machine guns. Why not? What's my point? The point is that Breonna Taylor's boyfriend, I think his name is Andrew, he had a weapon. Somebody was knocking fiercely. They broke through the door. He shot in defense. The cop shot back, striking Breonna Taylor 5 times. While her boyfriend was making the 911 call, she was still alive and fighting for her life. And as she lay dying, you can hear him on the call trying to stay with her, trying to be with her as she died. Now, why is any of this still news? We all knew what was going to happen, all this stuff. Because they conducted interviews with people from within the apartment complex. 1 out of like 9 people, one stated on his 3rd interview by the police force that he heard the cops say that this was the police, that they announced themselves. However, a recording of the first interview with that person has surfaced. And the first interview that has been recorded and is now out in public domain, he says clearly, no one ever announced their presence. No one ever announced themselves as the police. So clearly he was either intimidated, he was coerced to change his tune, but the proof of the first interview exists. Therefore, you can surmise that no one heard the police announce themselves as police, which means they were blatantly lying under testimony to the grand jury when stating that they had announced themselves before entering the apartment complex. Now, there's more. The entire premise of this no-knock warrant to Breonna Taylor's apartment is that she somehow was in connection with her ex-boyfriend from months previous. I think like 9 months previous. She hadn't been with this guy. For some reason, they believe that she was in cahoots with him, receiving packages of either money or drugs that she was holding for him in her apartment. Well, guess what? They searched her apartment, found nothing. There was nothing, absolutely nothing to tie her to her boyfriend, her ex-boyfriend. Her ex-boyfriend vehemently denies any connection with Breonna Taylor as far as his charges being a person who sells drugs. None of this storyline that the police are trying to fabricate is true. Furthermore, this has been out for some time, but I was just talking to a neighbor about it. The post office, and I believe that neighbor of mine was a former post carrier. The post office has vehemently denied and even shown records that no packages ever were delivered to Breonna Taylor's apartment in recent months, other than regular mail. No packages of money, no packages of... And that's where the police are saying they got their information from the postal department, from the post office, stating that, packages had been delivered here. Well, guess what? Packages were never delivered there, and the Postal Service is standing behind their statement saying, yeah, no, that's not true. It's categorically false. So, folks, what we have here in Kentucky right now, amidst the very angry public who are very angrily and within their rights marching up and down the street saying, where's the justice? What we have is a police state. We have a full-blown police state. And because the Attorney General just happens to be African American, everybody's like, oh, see, he's black. All the white people are like, hey, he's black, so therefore it must be okay. It's not okay. You can be black and brainwashed. I worked with plenty of people within the prison system who were black and felt like they were on the right side of the law while treating people like shit just for the sheer joy of treating a human like dirt. You can be that person. It doesn't mean that it's correct. It doesn't mean that it's morally or ethically right. It's not even lawfully right. So here we are in a very sensitive state right now. State, both figuratively and literally. Because we have Mitch McConnell, we have Rand Paul, we now have Attorney General Cameron, I believe his name is. We have a state in disarray. We have a state full of people who are tired of being policed like 1984. That's George Orwell's 1984. We are tired of the doublespeak. We are tired of the double standards. And we are tired of watching our brothers and sisters take the fall for constant police mistakes, constant police brutality. It's indefensible. It really is. And like I said, I worked almost 7 years in the prison system, and I saw this on a daily basis. You have to understand, corrections and law enforcement, corrections, number one, is law enforcement, and I will always stand by that. I was proud of the job that I tried to do. I made mistakes too. I did some things that I'm not proud of, but I was proud of being someone that represented hopefully a different slice of corrections, trying to help these guys, really believing in rehabilitation. But they don't want that. The entire vehicle, the entire department is against rehabilitation because prisoners make money for the state. It's fun to lock people up for trivial things. The thing is that a large slice of corrections likes to become police, and a large slice of police officers, if they can't make it in police, become correctional officers. And within both is a large slice of ex-military who are untreated, possibly unmedicated. They have seen action, they have seen combat, and this is a way to continue their tour of duty in a way that they think is correct morally and bereft of punishment, above the law kind of thing. And they think that they are within the rights because the military is taught to shoot first and ask questions later. And now the police are acting the same way. And they're justifying it. They're trying to justify it by saying, well, the public is violent. And pointing fingers at black culture. Saying, oh, well, they have guns. And they're inherently violent. But that's not true. And number one, if you're complaining about black people having guns within a state that constitutionally, or state constitutionally anyways, allows you to have guns without a permit, then you need to fix that, because we're all saying, hey, we need gun laws, we need gun control. Oh no, that's not the problem, because if you take away all the good guys' guns, then you'll be left with the bad guys having guns. Well, I'm sorry, then you can't have it both ways. You can't complain about black people having guns and committing crimes, but it's okay for white people to have guns and commit crimes, because that's happening too. But we're not seeing that because they're too focused on black lives and too focused on believing that Black Lives Matters is a terrorist group, when they don't even realize that the thin blue line is now adopted by white supremacy as their new Confederate flag. It's ridiculous, folks. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's no way anybody's going to win. So, anyway, 38 days until the election. New Supreme Court justice trying to be shoved into the Supreme Court after Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed. Trump still holding rallies, maskless, mocking people who wear masks, even though the people behind him in the videos are all wearing masks, his supposed supporters, not paid actors, I'm sure. This world's looking pretty messy, and like I said, I want to keep this vidiary going up until the point where my phone is taken away from me and I am arrested and thrown into a detention center for people who don't think the way that our dictator thinks, because that's what I fully anticipate is going to happen. We're going to have a grab for power. We're going to see Trump try to take over this country in a way that creates civil disobedience between philosophies. And right now I am not discluding a civil war. It sounds radical, it sounds insane to me, but I have children to think about, and I have to believe that this is a possibility. Alright, I'm out for now. I'm about to run out of video space anyway.